Hello everyone and welcome to another random bits and pieces segment from my brain, and today, sit a while, for we are playing some more Franchise Hockey Manager 6 as part of the Ottawa Senators, 5 times Stanley Cup champions. Alright, so we are about to start the 2006 and 2007 season, another season where I would hope dominate again, because I have quite the stacked lineup still. So as usual, I have made preparations off screen for the season that is coming, and I was able to get my team under the salary cap without having to get rid of anybody. I do have a couple contracts buried in the minors. They are not overly huge contracts, but I have two players that are probably going to serve me better as trade bait at this point in time. So we're going to go ahead and take a look here at who actually made the lineup. There's a couple surprises, a couple new faces that are going to be starting the season in Ottawa this year. But for the most part, it's pretty much the same team that won the Stanley Cup last year. Alright, so Brian Elliott and Ryan Miller in net. In preseason, they went with Brian Elliott. I hope that kind of reverses. I'm not paying Ryan Miller $4.5 million to sit on the bench, and there's no reason for him to not play. He's been stellar, and he won the Vizina last year. I mean, look at that. He had 3 regulation losses. So on D, there's one new face that's going to be playing. So we have Shara McCabe, and the new face is going to be Robin Regier. He's a decent defensive defenseman, and he had a decent camp and everything. And at 26, that's a little old too to kind of be starting in the NHL. Although back then, in those years, defensemen were starting a little bit later, but still 26 is maybe a little bit older than what would have been the average back then. Volchenkov, Mark Streit, Sheldon Sorin, Chris Phillips. So those guys are all going to be on our D this year. And then the forwards, we have Datsuk Avlat, Chris Kelly, Brooks Light, Patrick Eliash, Joe Thornton, Alexei Yashin, and new face Brandon Bochinski. He had a decent training camp, so I'm giving him a shot. He did play a couple games for us last year. Alfredson, Fisher, Osa, Eves, Chris Neal, and Jason Spezza. So Chris Neal is finally getting like a full-time job on the team, at least for now. So I did mention that I have a couple guys in the minors now that they're not necessarily huge salaries, but they're decent players, and while they would be awesome for us to call up, they might be a little bit more useful for us as trade bait. So I've put them on the trade block, and we'll see if we get offers for them. And that would be Tim Gleason. So I have a couple similar defensemen at this point. I have Volchenkov and Robin Regier. So Tim Gleason is a little redundant at that point. And then Michael Ryder, he's been useful for us. He did get 37 points in 47 games last year, a 20 goal season for us, but he was in and out of the lineup despite scoring 20. A little bit of a unidimensional player and everything. So yes, he has more talent than Brandon Bochinski, but he had a horrible, or not that great training camp and everything. So I'm giving the shot to a younger player and looking to see if I can maybe get a younger player or shed some salary by trading Michael Ryder, which still has 2 years on his contract. So that's where I'm going with the team. If you think I'm making a huge mistake or anything like that, feel free to let me know. But I think that my plan is fairly sound. I mean, with all the firepower we have on the team, I don't think that's going to be a huge problem. So now we're going to go ahead and sim until the start of the season. I don't know if I'm going to pick anybody on waivers because I'm pretty close. I forgot to show that here. So that's the salary cap is going to go down here to 44 million, and we're at 43. You know, we have realistically about 500,000 that we can play with. So if there's a a young player that's cheap that looks interesting, maybe I'm going to claim him. But more than likely, we're gonna stick to our guns here. All right, I. At the time of this recording, it is in the morning, so I am also finishing up my coffee. So hopefully I don't make too much noise drinking that. Oh, looks like there were still some preseason games to be played, so strong game for Francis Lemieux with the Hurricanes, who had 3 goals and an assist against Boston in a preseason game. That doesn't count, sadly for him. Memorable night for Jay Boomister in Florida, who had 4 assists against the Rangers. Ooh, some news from us. 28-year-old star Mark Streit has utilized his free time at the rink during training camp to meet fans and sign autographs. Attaboy, Mark. Good job. I make it a priority to sign as many autographs as I can during training camp. The fans are the reason we're compensated handsomely to play this game. I take pride in doing my part in making it an entertaining atmosphere at these exhibition games. Once our club breaks camp, it'll be more challenging to find the free time to interact with the fans, so I'm taking advantage of this opportunity. Alright, so he's probably becoming a better person out of this or something. So maybe he's gonna gain an alpha star or something. That'd be cool. Alright, and now I have players on my farm team that needs to clear waivers. So Gleason Ryder and Karel Rakunik. So we'll see what happens with that. Alright, so the biggest news today is that the Islanders have put Dwayne Roloson on waivers. I'm not going to pick him up. We have Ryan Miller, we have Brian Elliott, and we still have Ray Emery in Binghamton that could be a decent backup. So there's really no need to get Dwayne Roloson's salary. Whatever his salary is, I don't need it. Alright, now let's take a look at who's on waivers. Like I said, if there's, somebody that's absolutely... yeah, I have most of the better players that are available. Matt Stajan, maybe? I mean, do I want Matt Stajan? What's your salary? Yeah, that's your salary if you're in the minors. Okay, 3. Yeah, I could claim Matt Stajan. That might be interesting. Alright, let's check by potential. I think I'm going to claim Matt Stajan. I don't have a whole lot of depth at center, so I'm going to feel a little bit better. I have no idea if he's going to reach potential or not, but he could be kind of like a mini Matt Cullen that I had to let go. So, alright, so let's see what happens with that. Let's see if we get him. Oh, we did. Alright. Well, welcome home, Matt Stajan. Of course, now that I claimed you, you're not as good. He probably wasn't scouted properly, which, I mean, that's fine. I'm not overly upset about it or anything. Still 2-star potential. If he reaches it, that, he can play on the 3rd or 4th line. And he's cheap, so there you go. Alright, so the preview for 2006-2007. With the National Hockey League season about to get underway, the early Stanley Cup favorites appear to be Ottawa. Duh! Led by winger Pavel Datsyuk, general manager Jesse Bonhomme has built a squad that will be the team to beat this year, but they can expect challenges from Ray Shiro's Nashville Predators and Montreal featuring defenseman Andrei Markov. Where are the Detroit Red Wings? That's the team we face every year in the finals. Among the dark horses, New Jersey stands out as a possible challenger, with a big season by Martin Brodeur capable of pushing them into contender status. The scoring race will likely see Pittsburgh's Jaromir Jagr challenged by Sidney Crosby of Pittsburgh and Ottawa's Pavel Datsyuk. Top defenseman in the league is generally considered to be Detroit Red Wings blue-liner Nick Lidstrom, with Florida's Jay Bouwmeester and Chris Chelios of Chicago also in the running. Finally, among goaltenders, New Jersey's Martin Brodeur stands out as the league's best, while New York Islanders netminder Roberto Luongo, who was signed to a ridiculous contract, and Ryan Miller of Ottawa can also steal games for their teams. Alright, and now players need to be assigned numbers. Brandon Baczynski would like number 27. Brandon Baczynski would like to change his number to 27. Do you agree? I agree. Take it. And I'm going to send Matt Stajan down. There you go. Alright, so Matt Stajan's going down, and that's fine. He's 22. That's, a perfectly fine place to be at. And now the regular season is going to start. So like I mentioned at the end of the other video, we're going to be playing the Maple Leafs a lot. Keep in mind, it's in that stretch of NHL history, if you would, that you would play 8 games each season against teams from your division. It was a very poor attempt by the NHL to try to create rivalries, not really realizing that rivalries really build up in the playoffs for the most part. So that's why we're going to be playing Toronto a million times this year. No, not a million. I just said it was going to be 8, but it feels like a million. So it's going to be kind of a busy month. It looks like we're going to be playing at home quite a bit. So hopefully we can capitalize on that. Now let's take a look at the Maple Leafs lineup. We just claimed Matt Stajan from them, so they don't have him. Alright, so in net it's going to be Jean-Sébastien Giguère and Ty Conklin still. So that duo's been in Toronto for a little bit. So that's okay. That's not a bad duo to have at all. Adrian Aucoin, Sergei Gonchar, Stefan Kronwall, Martin Skula, Petrus Brisebois, Karel Pilash, Brad Lukowicz, and Ian White on D. That's a decent D. They have a mix of defensemen and puck movers and everything. So I would say it's a pretty decent D. On forward, they have Brad Boys, Alexei Ponikarovsky, Alex Steen, Adam Hall, Yannick Perreault, Travis Zajac, Stefan Yell, Steve Moore, Nick Antropov, Martin Gelina, David Muss, Scott Thornton, and Eric Cole. So maybe a little bit weaker at forward. So looks like Toronto has decent goaltending, pretty decent D. The forwards, there's not really a superstar up front or anything like that. So it might be tough in Toronto to score goals this year. Alright, so the season's about to start, and as usual, go Sens go. Yeah, it looks like we're playing Brian Elliott in net this year. Go figure. Alright, so Brian Elliott is going to be in net for us, and he's going to be facing Jean-Sébastien Giguère in that first regular season matchup against Toronto. Obviously, each team is 0-0, and we haven't played against them, so let's go. First game of the season starts with a loss. Oh, look at us. Alright, so we did outshoot Toronto 30-21. Adam Hall was the first star of the game. He had 2 assists. Jason Spezza was the second star with a goal and an assist. And David Moss was the third star with a goal and an assist as well. So we did take a 2-0 lead into the first period. So Martin Havlat scored on the power play from Alexei Yashin and Jason Spezza. And then Jason Spezza from Joe Thornton and Mark Streit. 2-0 Sens after one. And it looked like we were going to dominate like we've been doing for so long. But then Toronto turned around and scored 3 goals in the second period. And before you knew it, it was 3-2 Toronto after 2. And they added another goal in the third period, made it 4-2, and that was the final score. Despite the loss, Jason Spezza extended his point streak to 24 games. Now remember, he had that streak going at the end of the last season before the playoffs. So with his goal and an assist, now that's 24 straight games with a point for him. Yeah, not too happy that we lost that game. I wonder if it's because Elliott was in net. Oh, awesome, and we already have an injury. Alright, so Chris Philip is hurt. Oh, he can't play through it. Oh. Lacerated finger. Alright, I'm going to leave him on the lineup, and I'm leaving it to Jack Adams winner Alain Vignault to figure out if he wants to use him or not. Alright, so now the back and back against Toronto moves to Ottawa. So obviously we are 0-1 this season and 0-1 against Toronto this year. I don't like it. Alright, so they are going to Jean-Sébastien Giguère again. We are going to Ryan Metter for this game, and let's see what happens. Alright, that's more like it. So I guess we got angry, so we won this one 10-2. There you go. Maybe we weren't ready for the first game of the season, I don't know. So we outshot Toronto 55-17. Jason Spezza was the first star of that game. He had 4 goals and an assist. Alexei Yashin was the second star with 2 goals and 4 assists. And Anton Volchenkov was the third star with an assist. We had 14,397 people in attendance for this game. So Toronto thought that they were going to run away with that game again. They scored the first goal of the game, but little did they know we would score 5 straight after that before the 5 goals within a little bit more than 7 minutes before the end of the period. So Patrick Eliash on the power play from Alexei Yashin and Jason Spezza. Then Spezza on the power play from Yashin and Streit. Yashin on the power play from Mark Streit. Daniel Alfredson on the power play from Chris Kelly and Joe Thornton. And then Jason Spezza on the power play from Patrick Eliash and Alexei Yashin. We made them pay dearly for their indiscipline. Wow, that's crazy. 5 power play goals in the first period, and Martin Gélina's goal was on the power play as well, so it was a special teams type of game. Yeah, look at that. They took 5 penalties in a row, and we scored on every one of them. Steve Moore for boarding, David Moss for slashing, Stéphane Yell for cross-checking, Cole for charging, Martin Gélina for roughing. Then Zdeno Chara and Nick Antropov got into a fight. Alright, so we scored 2 more goals into the second period. Those were even strength goals. So Mike Fisher from Patrick Eves and Daniel Alfredson, and then Martin Havlat from Brooks Lake and Alexei Yashin. 7-1 after 2. Then in the third period, Toronto scored a goal, made it 7-2. And then Spezza scored, completed his hat trick from Anton Volchenkov and Joe Thornton. And then Spezza added some more with his 5th of the season already in 2 games from Brian McCabe and Brooks Lake. And Alexei Yashin from Daniel Alfredson and Brooks Lake finished the scoring for 10-2. The massacre was complete. There's a lot of news there. Let's see. Good game for Jason Spezza. Yeah, I know, 4 goals and an assist. That's pretty good. And that was 25 straight games for him with a point. 8 straight games with an assist. And open ice leads to a productive night for Alexei Yashin. As we saw, he had 2 goals and 4 assists for 6 points. That's pretty good. That's more like it. Maybe the first game of the season was just an error in the matrix or something. Craig Miller is available. Not gonna pick him up, as you know I am a little tight cap-wise. Suspension for Edmonton's Kyle Brodziak. He's going to miss 6 games. Big game for Ryan Smith in that game against Calgary. He scored 4 goals. Are you trying to be better than Jason Spezza there? Sidney Crosby extends his assist streak to 8 games with an assist against the Flyers. Oh, Michael Layton is available on waivers. He's going to stay there as far as I'm concerned. There was no stopping Paul Carrier, who had 4 goals and an assist against the Kings. Pretty good game for Carrier. Starting to decline a little bit. 2.5 stars, 31 years old. And of course the Ducks with their new logo and jersey. Suspension over for David Ling back in the lineup in Anaheim. David Krejci has a good game in Boston. He had a hat-trick, 3 goals against Florida. So David Krejci showed up in the universe. So he is 20 years old, a 2-star talent right now, 3-star potential. Yeah, that sounds about right. Krejci is a decent player. 3-star player is a 3-star potential is a decent player. Alright, and we are about to play against the Buffalo Sabres, and that is going to be at home. So let's see here. Buffalo is 0-2 to start the season. Of course, the season is pretty young, so it's no time to panic over there just yet. Let's see what they have here. Oops, I really didn't click on the right thing there. Alright, no injuries. They do have a suspension. Drew Stafford is suspended, so he's not going to be playing. So Buffalo, as we saw, lost Dominic Hasek to retirement. So now it's Martin Biron and Tim Thomas in that. Then on D, they have Philippe Boucher, Joe Carvo, Doug Janik, Ronnie Sundin, Brian Campbell, Sasha Gotch, Michael Rossifel. That's not a bad D at all. Decent D, decent goaltending. Patrick Marleau, which we traded to them. Scotty Upshaw, Drew Stafford, Thomas Vanek, Mike Knuble, Steve Connor-Walchuk, Brendan Morrison, Eric Lindros. Oh, Eric Lindros is in Buffalo now. Of course, he's declined quite a bit. He's only a 1-star player now. Derek Roy, Tommy Santella, Travis Moen, Daniel Payet, Jason Pominville, and Steve Carrier. So that's not a bad team. I think they should be competitive. They're probably going to turn that around, hopefully, after playing us. So they are going to Martin Biron. We are going back to Brian Elliott. So it looks like Brian Elliott is our starter this year. And we won 2-1. Alright, so a tight game, but we did win. We outshot Buffalo 38-18. Sheldon Surrey was the first star. He had a goal. Martin Biron was the second star despite losing the game. He had 36 saves. And Sasha Gotch, third star with a goal. 17,262 people in attendance for that game against Buffalo. And we opened up the scoring in the first period. It was Chris Kelly on the power play from Jason Spezza and Mark Streit. And then nobody scored in the second. And then in the third period, Sheldon Surrey scored from Marian Osa and Patrick Eliash, made it 2-0. Then Buffalo scored to come back to within 1, but they weren't able to tie the game before it was over. So the 2 points are ours. Mike Fisher converts to center. Good, that's your natural position, buddy. I'm glad you went back there. Jason Spezza extends his point streak to 26 games with his assist in that game, and that was 9 straight games with an assist for him. Alright, let's move forward. So we have a little bit of a break here. In 5 days, we are going to play the Calgary Flames at home. Suspension for Miroslav Shatan, who had 7-game suspension. In Edmonton, Sidney Crosby extends his point streak to 12 games with an assist against Detroit. And that was 9 straight with an assist for him. Alexei Ponikarovsky has a strong game. He had a hat-trick against Montreal. Good job, buddy. Right, and Ladislav Benisek is available there. I'm not going to pick him up. Ooh, nothing happened here. There was only one game in the NHL. Probably was a Sunday or something. Alright, no further discipline for Atlanta's Marcus Naslund. So not suspended. Jamie Eward is available on waivers. I am not going to pick him up. Looks like it's a Montreal pickup. He used to play for Nashville. Oh, looks like the Stars picked him up. So Montreal put Jamie Eward on waivers, and he was claimed by Dallas. Alright, and we are ready to play the Flames. So the Flames played a couple games since we last played a game. They had only played a game. They were 0-1. So right now they are 1-2. We're gonna take a look at their lineup. We did play them in the preseason, so we have a little bit of an idea already. But they might have made a couple changes. So Blair Betts is injured, so he's not going to be playing this game. So that leaves them with Craig Anderson and Levante Super in net. So that's still that tandem over there. Mark Posmick, Mark Giordano, Dion Phaneuf, Cal McLaren, Al Gill, Nicholas Cronwall, Tony Ludman, Brian Muir, and Mike Van Ryn on D. Lots of defensemen on that lineup. And that's a pretty decent D. And then Cowan, Nystrom, Janssen, Vander Gulik, Ketchup, Boyd, Brillin, Bégin, Robitaille, Cabesu, Fleury, and Thornton. Oh yeah, I commented on that you know, the goaltending is fine and their D is fine, but their forwards are going to be struggling to be scoring goals this year. Alright, so Andy in net for Calgary. So Craig Anderson in net for Calgary. Brian Elliott in net for the Sens. And we won 3-0. Alright, we outshot the Flames 52-10. Sheldon Surrey was the first star. He had 2 assists. Joe Thornton was the second star with 2 assists. And Brian McCabe was the third star with an assist. 15,638 people in attendance for this shutout in Ottawa. So Marian also opened up the scoring in the first period from Sheldon Surrey and Joe Thornton, and after one it was 1-0 Sens. Then Jason Spezza scored in the second period from Joe Thornton and Brian McCabe, and Alexei Yashin from Sheldon Surrey and Daniel Alfredson. 3-0 was the final score, and Jason Spezza's streaks are still alive. So Jason Spezza extends his point streak to 27 games. That's starting to be pretty impressive. Jason Spezza's streak ended at 9 games. So that streak ended because he scored a goal but didn't get an assist in that game. Oh, we lost Mark Stripe there. Eel soreness, day-to-day game unavailable. So we might need to play Chris Phillips with his lacerated finger against Montreal in 2 days. Lubomir Vishnevsky is injured in LA. He's going to miss 5 months because of a concussion. That's a tough break for the Kings. I'm ready to bet it's one of their best defensemen there. I always liked Wisniewski. I thought that Wisniewski was a pretty decent defenseman that was kind of underrated, like not talked about all that much. But he was he had some pretty good years. Sidney Crosby's point streak ended at 12 games. He was held scoreless against the Rangers. And assist streak ended at 9 games, obviously. Alright, Chris Phillips ready to come back. Alright, so we are playing our next game in Montreal against rivals Montreal Canadiens, whom we face in the playoffs quite a bit as well. So Montreal is doing pretty good in my universe. In real life, they had a pretty rough stretch at the end of the 90s and start of the 2000s. It was a little bit more difficult for them, but in the game it didn't reflect. They made some good choices. They have a pretty decent team. So in net it's Carey Price and Patrick Roy. So Patrick Roy is now 41 years old, but he's still playing, still a 2.5 star talent. Carey Price is a 4-star goaltender right now. And then on D, they have Beauchemin, Hainsey, Markov, Avlid, Matthew Schneider, Mickey Dupont, Jack Johnson, Ed Jovanovski, and Yoni Pitkanen. So that D is pretty good. And then on forward, it's Louis Eriksson, Chris Higgins, Sean Avery, Stephen Weiss, Derek McKenzie, Saku Koivu, Plekanec, Jochen Hesch, Todd White, Ribeiro, LaRose, and Steve Ott. So it's a pretty good team. Montreal's pretty good, and they could surprise us for sure. Brian Elliott in net for the Suns. Carey Price in net for Montreal. And we lost 5-2. So see, I said Montreal could surprise us, of course. You know, we're not playing our best goaltender. So whenever the next game is going to release, assuming that, you know, there's going to be a franchise hockey manager 7, whatever mode I decide to play, I will be playing as a coach as well, where I'm going to be choosing my lines. There's a few things with how the AI works that I don't really like for putting up lines and everything, and definitely playing Brian Elliott on top of instead of Ryan Miller doesn't really make sense to me. So that's gonna be resolved, but I started to play this way, so I'm gonna finish what I started. Alright, so we did outshoot Montreal 27-26. Stephen Weiss was the first star of the game. He had 2 assists. Chad LaRose was the second star with 2 assists. Jochen Hecht was the third star with an assist. So let's see, Montreal took a 1-0 lead into the first period, then 2-0 into the second, and then we had Chris Phillips score from Chris Kelly and Alexei Yashin. Then Montreal scored again. Then we scored again. It was Marian Osa from Brian McCabe and Brooks Like. It was 3-2 Montreal after 2. They added 2 more goals into the third period. And sadly, I have bad news. Jason Spezza's point streak is now over. It ended at 27 games. It was held pointless against Montreal. Yet another reason to hate the Habs. There's always a reason. Always a good reason. Alright, suspension over for Chris Thorburn in Dallas. So he is back in the lineup. Oh, great night for Tony Amonte. We haven't seen his name much, except for when we're looking at the Devils lineup. He had 3 goals and an assist against the Flyers. So Tony Amonte, 36 years old. Still a 2-star player, so he's still able to hold his own a little bit. Ben Clymer in Carolina is suspended. He's going to miss 4 games. And Brian Allen is suspended as well in the same game. He's going to miss 3. Brendan Shannon has produced 1,200 points in his career with an assist against Chicago. So 37 years old, Brendan Shannon is still a 2.5-star player in the league. So still pretty good. Alright, and Chris Phillips is ready to come back. That is good. Alright, so we have another bit of a break here, and then we're going to be playing against the Avalanche in 4 days. Mark Streit back sooner rather than later. Ryan Smith extends his goal streak to 5 games. He had 2 goals against the Canucks. Nice little streak for Captain Canada. Ryan Smith extends his goal streak to 6 games with a goal and an assist against the Canucks again. Well, looks like he likes playing the Canucks, huh? Alright. Mark Streit returns, that's good. Oh, he did gain Alpha Star. See, that's probably because he signed autographs. Now he's a better player. Good job, Mark Streit. Teemu Selanne riled up with coach. I don't think we've seen that before, so... Ooh, excuse me. Normally a leader in the Phoenix Coyotes locker room, Teemu Selanne is rumored to have expressed a desire for the team's head coach Mike Babcock to demand more of the other players who don't carry their weight around here. According to an anonymous teammate, Selanne reacted to the rumor of the news getting out to the media by saying it sounds worse than it was, but admitted there is more to the story than just that comment. It seems likely the incident won't necessarily bring the team and the coaching staff closer together. Ooh. Is Teemu Selanne on the move? 36 years old, still a 3-star talent. Oh, there's been a trade between San Jose and New Jersey. And Sean Brown is going to the Devils. And Sean Brown played with the Devils in real life, so... Alright, so Carlo Kolayakovo and Timu Ilomo are going to San Jose for Sean Brown and John McCarthy. I think the Sharks got the upper hand there. I mean, Kolayakovo is a serviceable defenseman. He's not that great, but he's serviceable. Sean Brown is only an alpha star. I doubt that he's going to play much. And I'm not sure that John McCarthy is going to reach his potential because his numbers are so low right now. 9-9-9-11. Yikes. So I think San Jose got the better of that deal there. So we are about to play the Colorado Avalanche. So they are doing pretty good at the start of this season. They are 5-1 this season so far. So we are going to take a look at their lineup. Oh, they're doing good, but they have a couple unfit players. A couple players that have been hanging out with Wendell Clark. So Samuel Paulson and Matt Sundin are both not doing all that great in that department. Alright, so on D it's Joey McDonald and Vitaly Kolesnik. Not great goaltending in Colorado right now. Then Cal Comiskey, Roman Hammerlich, Brendan Witt, Tommy Pitsinen, I think. Yeah, Tommy Pitsinen, Johnny Boychuk, Adam Foote on D. That D's a little bit hit or miss. Marty Risner, Milan Eduk, Alex Tanguay, Radim Verbata, Paulson, Forsberg, Ensick, Richardson, Sakic, McLeod, Nolan, Williams, Sundin, Abid, and Malhotra. That team is not that great. I mean, sure, Sakic is there, but he's getting old. He's 37. Yeah. They must be well coached because I'm not too impressed with their players. I mean, they have a few good players, but their lineup is not that impressive. That goaltending is pretty bad. Alright, so they are going with Kolesnik in net. We are going with Brian Elliott. And we won 6-2. Alright. So we outshot the Avalanche 49-10. Patrick Elias was the first star of the game. He had 2 goals and an assist. Brian McCabe was the second star with a goal and an assist. And Marian Osa was the third star with 2 assists. 16,953 people in attendance for this game. And we opened up the scoring in the first. It was Patrick Elias from Brooks Lake. And then the Avalanche tied the game. So it was tied at 1 after 1. And then in the second period, Colorado actually took a 2-1 lead, but then we scored 3 straight. So Brian McCabe from Patrick Eliash and Marian Hossa, Patrick Eliash from Marian Hossa and Sheldon Surrey, and then Alexis Yashin on the power play from Brian McCabe, and it was 4-2 after 2. And then in the third period, Daniel Alfredson scored from Joe Thornton and Zidane O'Shar, and then Zidane O'Shar from Mark Streit and Joe Thornton. And 6-2 was the final score. Wow, I think that Jason Spezza was held pointless in a second game in a row. What's going on with Jason Spezza? Cody McLeod is suspended with the Avalanche. He's in that game against us. He's going to miss 2 games. I don't know what you did, but take that. Alright, and the next game is going to be in a couple days, and it's going to be at home again against the Devils. Oh, Sean Van Allen has played in 1,000 games in his career. Playing for the Kings. That was against Phoenix, and he had an assist to celebrate. So Sean Van Allen, 39 years old, a star and a half, so still a capable player. Alright, so suspension for Rory Fitzpatrick with the Hurricanes. He's going to miss 4 games. That's a lot of D's in Carolina that are suspended right now. They had also Brian Allen and somebody else that I'm forgetting right now. Suspension over for Drew Stafford in Buffalo. He's back in the lineup. Alright, and we have a trade proposal from the St. Louis Blues. We want to trade us Richard Pizzio for Michael Ryder. I'm going to say no. Not interested into that trade right now. Alright, so I think I forgot to check here. Yeah, I did. There you go. That's taken care of. And now we are going to be playing the New Jersey Devils. So we have not played them this year. The Devils are 4-2-1 right now, which is good for 7th in the East. I believe we played them in preseason. So yeah, Vesa Toscala, I mentioned his horrible goal that he allowed in his career. Sadly for him, that's probably what he's going to be remembered for the most. Alright, so Brother and Toscala in net. Andy Green, Sean Brown. Recently acquired Sean Brown. Scott Niedermayer, Kultanen, Freddie Meyer, Rafalski, Giunta, De Salvatore, Parise Vermette, Pilo, yeah, that guy that I wasn't too familiar with. Simon Gamache, Karel Piroche, John Madden, Gomez, Nolan, Amante, Talaxon, Rolston, Bergfors, and Rominski. So it's pretty much the same lineup we faced in the preseason, and there's a lot of half-star players on that lineup. So I think that they're being carried by Martin Brodeur. Alright, so Brother in net, Brian Elliott in net for us, and let's see if we can beat the Devils. And we won 41. So we outshot the Devils 50-18. Mike Fisher was the first star. He had 2 goals. Chris Phillips was the second star with an assist, and Robin Regier was the third star with an assist as well. 17,355 people in attendance for this game. So Jason Spezza finally got back on the scoring sheet. He scored the first goal of the game from Patrick Eaves and Chris Phillips. Then Mike Fisher scored his first of 2 goals from Brooks Laich and Marian Hossa. And then Mike Fisher scored again about 5 minutes later from Robin Regier, and it was 3-0 Sens after 1. Then Zach Parise scored on the power play in the second period for the Devils, made it 3-1. But then Mark Streit scored on the power play from Alexis Yashin and Chris Kelly in the third period, and 4-1 is how we won this game. Patrick Eliash is injured day to day. Out for 4 days with a jammed finger. Okay. Wyatt Smith, is it? Yep, Wyatt Smith is available on waivers. Alright, Braden Coburn is suspended in Atlanta. He's going to miss 3 games. Ryan Smith extends his goal streak to 7 games with a goal against Detroit. That's crazy. How many goals do you have this season? In 7 games, you have 11 goals and 2 assists. Nice little Cy Young record there. So you did have over 100 points last season and you scored 50, so you're pretty productive there. Maybe I should go and get you. Also, you're 30 already. Kyle Brodziak is back from suspension in Edmonton, back in the lineup. Peter Forsberg extends his goal streak to 5 games with 2 goals against Montreal. Pavel Demitra has reached 300 goals in his career against the Islanders, so he scored 1. And Pavel Demitra, 31 years old, still a 2.5-star player. Brian Allen is back from suspension in Carolina. Danny Eatley extends his goal streak to 5 games, with a goal against Phoenix. Yannick Perreault has tallied 1,000 games played, so Perreault plays in Toronto still, no points for him, and he achieved that against the Rangers. 35 years old, Yannick Perreault, a star-and-a-half player still. Alright, so in a couple days we will be playing in Toronto in the first of a back-to-back against them again, just like we had at the start of this season. And I am getting a trade proposal from the Philadelphia Flyers. Are you trying to pass me Mikhail Renberg again? No, you're trying to trade me Sergei Topol for Tim Gleason, and I'm going to have to say I don't think so. I guess they're testing the market by offering me really bad deals, see if I'm going to take it. Cody McLeod is back from suspension in Colorado. Right, and we are about to play the Leafs. So as we know, we are 1-1 against the Leafs this year. They beat us on the first game of the season, and then we corrected that in the game after. So Toronto, despite all of that, is 5-2-2 right now, and they are 4th in the East. Brian Elliott in net for us, Ty Conklin in net for Toronto. And we lost 3-2, so the strategy of playing Brian Elliott in net is not helping us. Maybe it's maybe the game just wants to give me more realistic results or something. I don't know. We did outshoot Toronto 54-23 in that one. Sergei Gonchar was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Brian McCabe was the second star with 2 assists. And Ty Conklin was the third star with 52 assists for Toronto. So Jason Spezza opened up the scoring in the first period on the power play from Brian McCabe. And it was 1-0 Sens after 1. Then in the second period, Toronto scored to tie the game, and then we took the lead again. It was Jason Spezza again on the power play from Brian McCabe and Chris Kelly, and it was 2-1 at that point. But Toronto scored 2 more goals, and it was 3-2 after 2. Nobody was able to find the back of the net in the third period. That's how the game ended, with another loss against the Leafs. I don't like it. Great night for Patrick Sharp, playing in Pittsburgh. He had 4 goals and an assist against the Devils. Patrick Elias should be back soon. And Timu Elomo is available, and I am not going to be picking him up. Miroslav Shotan is back from suspension in Edmonton, so back in the lineup there. Ilya Kovalchuk extends his goal streak to 5 games with 2 goals against Carolina. And Ben Clymer was the other Carolina Hurricane defenseman that was suspended. I couldn't remember earlier, and he is back in the lineup now after serving his suspension. Right, so we have 3 games left in October. So the second of the back-to-back against Toronto here. So back at home, we are 1-2 against the Leafs this year, and they are now 6-2-2 and first in the East. Leafs fans are gonna be happy to see that. Although I doubt a Leafs fan would be watching a Ottawa Senators historical playthrough on YouTube. Right, Ty Conklin in net for them. We're going back to Brian Elliott with his lousy 880 save percentage. And we lost again, 4-2. I'm losing games because my coach refuses to play my best goaltender. This is dumb. This is dumb. And that has been brought up a lot of times on their forums over the years, and they always keep defending themselves, saying that, oh, you see that sometimes where the backup steals the job from the starter because they get hot right before the playoffs and everything. Yeah, well, that's not what's happening right now. It's broke. Fix it. Simple. Well, I don't know if it's simple to fix. I'm not a programmer, but the issue is easy to pinpoint. Oh, rant over. Alright, so we did outshoot Toronto 33-27. Sergei Gonchar was the first star of the game. He had an assist. Martin Havlat was the second star with a goal, and David Moss was the third star with a goal. 14,289 people in attendance for this game. Alexei Yashin scored the first goal of the game. It was his 5th of the season from Robin Regier and Marianosa. Then Toronto tied the game, and it was tied at 1 after 1. And then in the second period, Martin Havlat scored from Jason Spezza and Joe Thornton, made it 2-1. But then Toronto scored two more goals, and then it was 3-2 Toronto after 2. And then Toronto scored another goal, made it 4-2, and that was the end of the game. So yeah, I don't think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, Ryan Miller didn't have a poor season the season before. He won the Vizina. He won the Stanley Cup. He had great stats. He's a 4.5-star goaltender. He's paid $4.6 million. And we're playing Brian Elliott, who's having poor performances pretty much every game. And I cannot explain why this is happening. And the developers can try and make me reason or try to reason with me about it, and it's not going to happen because shit like that shouldn't be happening. Alright, so Simon Gagné lights the lamp. He had 3 goals and an assist against the Atlanta Thrashers. So pretty good game for Simon Gagné. Suspension over for Braden Coburn, so back in the lineup. And Alexei Zamnov is suspended. He's going to miss 11 games. What did you do, dude? Did you spit on a referee or something? Alright. And Patrick Eliash is almost back. Whew, excuse me, I had to cough quite a bit. Alright, so Jeff Friesen is available on waivers, and Pasi Nurminen, not picking them up. And our next game is tomorrow in Boston against the Bruins. Patrick Eliash is back, finally. Alright, so we are about to play the Boston Bruins. We have not played them this season. They are 6-2, which is good for 4th in the East. Alright, so they have Yevgeny Nabokov and Tomas Vokun in net still, so they have had those 2 guys in net for a while now. That's pretty good. John Michael Lyle, Sandzis Ozelinch, Mark Stewart, Dmitry Bikov, Craig Rivet, David Tanabe, and Mike Commissary on D. That's a pretty good D. Josef Stumpel, Sergei Varlamov, Murray Modine, Bergeron, Olden, Nieuwendyk. Oh, Joe Nieuwendyk is in Boston now, and he's their captain. Nate Thompson, Olli Jokinen, Phil Kessel, David Krejci, Glenn Murray, Mark Mowers, and Maxim Sushinsky. So there's a few pretty interesting players in there. That's not a bad lineup. That's not a bad lineup at all. Pretty well balanced team. We continue to play Brian Elliott despite, the save percentage going down. And we are going to be facing Yevgeny Nabokov, who has a 966 save percentage. That makes sense to start him. He has great stats. And we lost in overtime, 2-1. So am I going to have to bring up an Alpha Star goaltender instead of Brian Elliott just so that the game knows to use the better goaltender? That would be pretty dumb. Yeah. Alright, so we outshot Boston 34-31. Sandy Sazalinch was the first star with a game with an assist. Chris Kelly was the second star with a goal. Glenn Murray was the third star with a goal as well. Chris Kelly opened up the scoring in the first period from Patrick Elias and Daniel Alfredson. So it was 1-0 Sens after one. Then in the second period, Boston scored. It was tied at 1, and the game went in overtime. Nobody scored in overtime, actually. The game was determined in the shootout. So David Krejci scored, and Jason Spezza scored. And then Frederick Modine actually scored the game winner, if you would. Although it doesn't count, or it shouldn't count as a game-winning goal in his stats, but that was the goal that determined the game. Rory Fitzpatrick is back from suspension, so back in the lineup in Carolina. There was no stopping Wes Walls, who had a hat-trick 3 goals against Dallas. Sean Orkoff is suspended in Edmonton. He's going to miss 2 games. Rick Nash extends his goal streak to 5 games with a goal and an assist against the Devils. Excellent passing leads to productive night for Andrew Hutchinson, who had 4 assists against the Flyers. Teemu Selanne has produced 750 assists in his career with an assist against the Rangers. So 36 years old, Teemu Selanne, 3-star player, as we saw earlier. Alright, and then there's been a trade between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Nashville Predators. So Tom Pody is going to Nashville, and Pittsburgh gets Brett Clark. Alright, so I'm not sure who got the upper hand on that one, but alright, and in 2 days we will be playing in Montreal against the Habs. Jan Herdina is available on waivers. Suspension for Sean Thornton in Calgary. He's going to miss 4 games. Memorable game for Alex Ovechkin, who had 3 goals and an assist against the Flames. Big game for Andy Delmore in LA, who had 5 assists against the Rangers. No one could stop Jesse Schultz in that same game. He had 3 goals and 2 assists. Alright, and we are going to be playing against the Habs. So this game is going to be in Montreal, as was the first one we played against them. Of course, they beat us 5-2. Montreal right now is 7-3, which is good for 6th in the East. Brian Elliott in net still for us. Carey Price in net for Montreal. We won this game 5-1. We minimized the amount of shots that Brian Elliott faced, so that gave us a chance. So we outshot Montreal 52-14. Sheldon Surrey was the first star with a goal and an assist. Anton Volchenkov was the second star with 2 goals. And Mark Streit was the third star with 2 assists. So Montreal did score first in that one, and it was 1-0. But then Anton Volchenkov scored from Joe Thornton and Pavel Datsyuk. It was tied at 1 after 1. Then in the second period, Chris Neal scored from Sheldon Surrey and Mike Fisher. Then Sheldon Surrey from Brooks Laich and Mark Streit. Alexei Yashin scored on the power play from Chris Kelly and Mark Streit, and it was 4-1 after 2. And finally in the third period, Anton Volchenkov scored from Robin Regier and Patrick Eliash. 5-1 was the final score. Alright. And monthly honors went to Paul Carrier in Anaheim and Carey Price in Montreal. Alright, so we are November 1st, so we are going to be stopping here. I'm not too happy with our first month. I've explained why many times already, so I'm not going to ponder on it anymore. So we are 8th in the East right now, with a 6-4-1 record. And it's not the record that annoys me. I don't mind losing games and everything. It's that the AI is not up to par and not starting my better goaltender. That is why I'm upset. If I would have that record with Ryan Miller in net, I wouldn't be saying a thing. Alright, so let's take a look in the West, what it looks like after the first month. So the Ducks are first. St. Louis, oh, wow. Anaheim, St. Louis, Colorado, LA, Nashville, Edmonton, Minnesota, and Dallas. So anybody notices something weird here? Yeah, that's right. Detroit is not there. They are 12th. So if I make the playoffs and if I make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, there's a chance that I'm not going to face Detroit in the finals for the first time. That would be nice. A little change of pace. And now I think I noticed something. I think that Pavel Datsyuk is having a terrible start to the season. Alright, so I have Yashin and Spezza with 13 points in 11 games each. Thornton has 9 points in 11. Streit is 8 and 10. Eliash 8 and 10. McCabe. So let's see. Sure thing, Pavel Datsyuk, the 4 million man, has 1 point in 11 games. That's as many as Chris Neal, and less than Chris Phillips. That might explain why I've been losing games too. Why is Pavel Datsyuk struggling so much? What's going on with you? Do you have gambling problems or something? Is that what's going on? Hopefully you turn it around, buddy, because I'm paying you the big bucks. Alright, so we have identified a couple problems on the team. I'm not sure how you fix that, so it's not like I'm just going to send Pavel Datsyuk in the minors, so not too sure about that. So Ryan Smith is the best goal scorer in the league right now, and Andy McDonald is the best passer. Paul Carrier and Mike Camilleri are the best scorer in the league right now, so it's Carrier, Camilleri, Jagger, Kovalchuk, Carter, McDonald, Ryan Smith, Danny Eatley, Timo Selene, Scott Gomez, Joffrey Lupul, and Alexei Podnikarovsky. So we definitely are seeing new names in there, which is nice. I kind of like that. Alright, so, well, this is it for the start of the season. Not a great start to the season. Actually might make it a little bit more challenging in a way, so that might not be that bad. It's just the circumstances around the challenge that I'm not too fond of. So I am going to end here. As usual, I do want to thank you for tuning in and hearing me rant. I mean, I don't think I rant too much, but this is a little bit frustrating. And As usual, if you've liked the video, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And until I roll this game again, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.